Yeah, let's talk about appealing character motion with minimal effort, and hopefully I'll explain the minimal part during this talk. So let's get started. So we already done that. I'm Saša Budimir. I'm freelance 3D artist, animator, coffee and sandwich enthusiast, and I love Houdini, of course. Most of you probably don't know me, but I thought of like putting little reel together and talk over it a bit about myself. It doesn't have music, so yeah, I can talk. I mean, I started this 3D business. Oh, sorry. Uh, Quite some time ago, yeah, and I still love doing it. So yeah, these are some of my favorite projects and some samples of the stuff I usually do. When it's not a commercial thing, it's just some silly thing that I like to, I don't know, explore new things, try new things, break old things, new things, break everything. But something that, I don't know, puts a smile on my face and hopefully somebody else. So yeah, this this is it. So regarding the presentation, I thought of it like a two parts session. In part one, I will try to explain some of my favorite ways to spice up the animation or hack the animation or do whatever you need to do if you're not good at rigging or everything. And the second part will be a quick walkthrough of a more practical example than those bones and lines and whatever. Where we'll like take this simple shot and go through the process of creating it from start to finish. So from the idea to the final render. So yeah, let's start with why procedural animation. Animation is hard and it takes time. So yeah, any shortcuts that you can do during that process is, at least for me, more than welcome. So I should have started with a disclaimer first. This may not work for you. It works for me. I'm like a one-man band show. I do a little bit of everything. Depending on the job, maybe I will do some animation, maybe I won't, maybe I'll do some like CFX or whatever. And like oftentimes it happens that you are low on time, low on budget, and you wish or need to produce something that is kind of appealing and nice. Of course, another possible reason would be like you're feeling lazy and don't want to keyframe much. So yeah, again, me. Anybody else? Yeah? No? Yeah? Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. And like it's super fun to do. It's super fun to spend few days working on some weird procedural setup that will do just one or two things when you could animate it in, I don't know, like 2 hours. But it's fun. It's fun, trust me. Super fun. So yeah, let's start with part one of the part one. This is so you can see that I'm expert at PowerPoint and coming up with the presentations, but the part one will be like noising up those joints. The concept is super simple. It's just a noise on the joints. So the inspiration for this came from the CG Wiki, and you may know him. It's Matt Estella. And he was, all the links are there. There was a nice article about how you can send like some sine waves along the joints, manipulating the rotations and everything. And I was like, yeah, that's super interesting, but maybe I can do it with noise also. Just what if I don't want sine waves? What do I want? Some more random motion. And yeah, sure enough, you can do it. So this is like super simple. although maybe it looks complicated, but it's just a noise running through the running on a single joint. So you can like control the amount of the rotation, position, frequency of the noise, amplitudes, and whatnot. So you can. The great thing is you can customize it to your needs. I was thinking about like some, yeah, like doing some puppets, as you already saw. So I really wanted to have split like position translation control, so I can maybe the animation would need more up and down motion or X or Y. So yeah, it's customized. It can be simple as you need it, or it can be complex and complicated as needed. And he's, as you can see, excited as nearly as I am right now. So yeah, that's the whole point of this. So you may ask, but okay, how is this useful? How you still have to keyframe those noises when you want them to appear or not? Well, yes, of course you can do that, but maybe there is a, I don't know, if you have even less time, maybe there is a more procedural way you can do it without chops. Like Houdini being Houdini, you can just calculate the velocity of a single point or joint in this case, and use the magnitude of that velocity to separate the like points in time that the object is moving, joint is moving, or that is static. So you can then use those like segments to apply different noises to different segments. Like I, for example, wanted to, when it's moving on the, what is it, X, to have more like up and down motion, more frenetic noise, and some little more subtle noise for like moving holds when the object is static. Of course, it's not perfect, it's not great or anything, but it's, as you can see here, it's quite an improvement for almost no work. So yeah, you have original animation and animation with both noises applied. So yeah, that's one way to do it. This is a more, let's say, elaborate example, but same thing. A bit of noise. You put a bit of a ragdoll solver for some secondary motions, and you have this. You have it, and that's it. You can always show it on some family gatherings when they ask you what do you do for a living. You show them this and never hear from them again. So yeah. The second part, I saw this wonderful creature. I think it's called a star, feather star, and I was immediately intrigued how I could do how I could animate it in Houdini. Like it does seem complex, and what would be the best approach to do it? Like for even one of those tentacles, legs, arms, call it whatever you want. Maybe I could do some, I don't know, like bendy rigs or full body IKs, but it's too much work. I'm not comfortable with rigging. It's too much work. Let's maybe try to just animate the root. That's when I mean about minimum input. What if I can get something interesting with just minimum input? Like you see over here, it's just a simple wrangle that isolates one part of the time. I think I set it to 3 seconds. And when you have that part of the time isolated, I mean, range between 0 and 1, you can just fit it in the ramp, and basically you do similar stuff that you do in a regular graph editor, animation editor, to manipulate that part of the time. So, okay, once it's like maybe satisfying, it was just a matter of finding the right sequence in which the legs alternate, and this is the input that I decided to send to the Vellum solver. And yeah, with some tweaking of few parameters, mainly the densities, the weights of the like those hairs, and yeah, with those how much the pin constraints will be used, influence of the pin constraints. After some tweaking, yeah, you get something like this that was quite satisfying and really close to, in my opinion, to the reference footage. But of course, we're not really there yet, not even close. So this is just some like comparison between our original input and something that Vellum gave us for almost free. So yeah, the part that we're missing was like doing this little, I don't know what they're called in real life, those parts. So I'll use like feather terminology, barbs. Uh, this is just using hair tools to generate the barbs along the main curves, like you do with a feather, and converting them to KineFX compatible geometry with just the rig doctor, and then deforming it with the original splines. So what's nice about it that all the transforms, orients, and everything just flows smoothly, and you can use it later for additional animation. That is the only missing part. Again, in that sequence, it was they had like this really nice motion when it goes up and when it goes down. So it was just a matter of tweaking, like you see there, some of the curves, and then once applied to the this is just a visualization of the cycle, and yeah, in the end you got something that's, I don't know, it would be probably took me a lot more time to do it by hand, to do it manually. So yeah, it was quite fun and nice. Okay, the third part, I call it just wing it, because that's what I feel most of the time I'm doing. Like, I have an idea in my head that I want to produce, but I have no clue how to get there. Maybe not completely, but some of the segments I'm not really sure how well I execute them. So yeah, let's take a look this this simple, I don't know what to call it, like cut and ball character. Uh, I didn't know what to do, but I know that I wanted to start with a hat because it was the like a leading motion of the whole animation. So yeah, I animated by hand. Sorry, you can't escape it sometimes. So it's not so minimal effort, but it's super simple. It's like I don't know, like half an hour. And the body motion was even simpler because I didn't have to care about anything specific, just in terms of the volume where I wanted to, I don't know, expand from the head and stuff like that. So the next step was to send those poorly animated body through the Vellum sim, like with a pressure constraint, and just time it so it expands like and comes out. Uh, After that, I discovered that there is a nice constraint in Houdini. I can't remember the name, something like surface constraints, that you can just attach any joint to the surface that is animated. With a few controls extra, I did a little tweak on the eyes, maybe a few keyframes here and there, especially those weird-looking ones. But they were necessary for. I had some problems with second sim, and then just repeat the first simulation exactly the same, just with the eyes as the collider. So you get a little nice, as you can see here, yeah, collisions, of course. Did a little bit of retiming to get the stop motion feel because I wanted to be on twos, animated on twos, even if they're not. So you like break the simulation, which is by nature smooth and comes from one frame to the other. So you just break it up, maybe favor some poses that were not included on twos and stuff like that. Yeah, and really just a basic, like, I don't know, faked motion blur that you see in stop motion, where you have to make it like physical because you're taking one picture at a time, so there is no motion blur. It's really simple, just few points offset from the body, same animation, same everything, trail it, carve it, and again do whatever you want to do with it after. So just a little sweep and whatnot. Stick some hair in it, on it, to make it looks cute and nice, and of course use the collisions to convert the objects to VDB collisions, so the hair will stick under the hat, and yeah, that's what you get in the end. It's, I don't know, it's nice. It's simple, but yeah. Thank you. From completely not knowing how to get there, yeah, just experimenting, throwing this into that, and something happens eventually. Yeah. Woo! We're on the part 2, and we're on the almost 15 minutes. So my hopes are up that I will make it in time. Yeah. Sorry for not including the animation. There should be the bat and the mummy, yeah, to just remind myself and you what we're going to talk about. But let's get started. Like creating characters, maybe it's okay to get prepared. So you get prepared with some serious concept art drawn on a old envelope or something like that. I mean, as you can see, I can't draw, really, I can't, but I'm a bit oldish and I tend to forget stuff. So it's just a matter to remind myself, okay, this is what I was going for. So yeah, starting in Houdini, you just make that ugly illustration nice, clean up curves a little bit, and do some really funky stuff with the modeling of these characters. I mean, probably no one models like this, but I said, why not? Take each part like a separate piece, do a bit of extrusion. For the wings, I think it was a Vellum Simbi because I was not getting those nice folds and wrinkles and whatnot, which you, of course, won't see later because it's all covered with fur and nobody cares. But yeah, it was there, I know it. Then it was the cloth part, super simple, like a cape, a collar separately because it was too hard to control it all at once. So I decided to split it in two parts. Did a bit of draping. This was like attempt 256, I guess. That was looking like nice. And yeah, in the end, you have a bat with a cape, as every bat should have. So the fur part, it's again super simple, like two noises just for the fur direction. And with that attribute, you control in Houdini where the fur will grow, in which direction. So I'm just making two of them, mixing them up a little bit, and just to, I don't know, break the uniformity a little bit. And all about this is just layering a bunch of hairs, like 3 or 4 layers, just to make it like some felt-like material. And here are some shading attributes that I'll use later in the render, but I like to have it already baked in the geometry. For the mummy, it was different set of challenges, like making those bandages. I was not sure how to do it. I can't remember now how I exactly do it, but I knew I wanted the control. because I was thinking about some ways to procedurally cover it up and everything, but I was lacking the control of exactly putting placement of those negative spaces between the bandages, as you see here, because the simulation sometimes got funky if too many layers were on the joints, on the areas where there is too much deformation. So yeah, with this kind of setup, I was able to, if I'm not satisfied with something, I could just edit the curves, the main curves that were used for wrappings. It was super easy to just isolate one layer and control it a bit more, position it as you would like. So same thing for the arms, with exception that you just pick few parts that you want to be a little dangly and loose. And to the simulation part, nothing special about it. On the edges, there was a pin constraint, just a bit softer than on the other parts, so it had more room and more freedom to settle down. Because this is just a simulation for draping, just to solve all the intersections for the bandages. Because when modeling, you don't care really about those intersections. It would take too long. So I decided to use a Vellum to just layer the uh, to solve all the collisions, intersections, and make it all nice and simulation friendly for the next step, for the next simulation. So the main part was just using the layer number of the original bandages, displacing it a bit, offsetting it from the surface, and in this like motion that it wouldn't intersect with each other when the animation was happening. I mean, animation like in a rest state that was provided to Vellum to calculate it on each frame. And in the end, yeah, you have a nice non-intersecting geometry. But the next problem was, okay, how to do the geometry, or how will I render this, because this is just a low res proxy. So luckily, I stumbled upon this article by very talented guys at Animal Logic, and they had this paper simulating woven fabrics with weave, and I saw that they did all their clothing with curves, and I thought, well, that's crazy. How can you do that? But it's so nice approach. And after reading that article, of course, I didn't understand, I don't know, 90% of it, but there was enough clues around it, so I can Frankenstein some simple poor man's version of that. Of course, it works only on rectangular shapes in my case, but that was completely fine with me and exactly what I wanted. So yeah, this is just a little time lapse of doing that. Basically, it puts the one bandage, each bandage, to its UV space, deletes the unnecessary geometry. Then you can define the density of the weaves, of the strands, or however you call it, and do some weaving. Add some like destroyed edges, fringes, delete some parts, make a little noise displacement, just so it doesn't look too uniform. Like the main point is to break the uniformity that you could possibly get. The hair was also even simpler than on the bat, just raying it down after generating hair. So you ray down to the geometry, and then just using some mask, you offset it from the geometry, so you get this nice curved like shapes that are interesting, and luckily they look like some felt material. And yeah, always good to check your progress. It kind of looks nice. Yeah, let's move on. Part two of the part two, rigging and animation. So rigging, I don't know how to rig. I'm not Magnus. I don't have Magnus in the next room, so I could tell him, yeah, Magnus, can I get a nice rig? No, I don't have a luxury of that. So yeah, this is all super simple lines converted to KineFX with a rig doctor, just positioned together, then parented as needed. Same thing for the mummy, except he had mouth, yeah. And few additional controls regarding puppet movement, like that I would probably need later. It was all done in advance, not knowing what I'll need. But that's what I love about Houdini and KineFX, that you can change your mind on the fly. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's not good, if it's not working. You'll see that in an animation, that maybe, this is wrong, this is too wide, this is, doesn't matter. You just change few parameters and everything updates and flows now nicely if you just take care of that. Yeah, and of course, I didn't know how to do some spline IKs or fancy rigs, so I just used full body IKs to get some super hacky and cheap motion. So yeah, it was time to start animating, and we start, of course, with a animatic, just to get a sense of the motion and everything. So here's a little bet that just few keyframes. It's very crude, it's very linear, and here is, of course, our procedural noise. I use it on everything just to get a little bit of motion, extra motion, ragdolls, of course, for secondary motion, and yeah, in the end, you get more than you invested in it. So here's the comparison of the original input and the outcome of all these procedures. So yeah, same thing with the mummy. I'll have to speed up a bit. So here are some completely procedural animation of the arms because I was too lazy. And what's really nice about it, what I love about it, is that you can just turn off or on these individual wrangles, so you can really check the motion. Maybe it's too subtle to see it on the whole animation, so you can just exclude your keyframes or which one you like. And yeah, with that, I thought of getting some secondary motion for the head. This was what came up. I liked it really, but I sensed that it could be troublesome for the CFX department, which is also me in this case. So yeah, again, same stuff for the like for the bed, just to get some extra jiggly arms, and again, comparison of the original and motion with minimal effort. Clothing hair super fast. I maybe have 1 minute or 2 minutes. I'm not sure. I may be out of time. Constraints, and constraints, making collision objects just a little bit bigger than the original mesh to cover all the hairs to avoid possible issues with it. Yeah, and this is the simulation of the low proxy object and the object that we'll use for rendering. Then it just the hair didn't have any simulation. It was just driven by guide deform. Only thing that I did here was just using VDBs of the render geometry to push those hairs in, so it doesn't stick. Mummy was even simpler. Just a few dangly bits. You drive it with your animation and just simulate the parts that you would like to have some motion in it. Yeah. So and later just deform the renderable geometry with the low proxy geometry using the rest states, and you get like the mummy. So, creating the set, we'll skip it, we don't have time. It was super weird, but the last part, lighting and rendering. Also, this is USD. I know nothing about USD. I get confused very easily in it, but I figured it makes Solaris and Karma very happy if it's all flat, nicely saved, and then it's everything nice and fast. So I'm just preparing each character as a static asset, and exporting animations as separate USD. This was the rendering part. Like, it was super simple. I don't know, 3 or 4 lights altogether, making them like finding some interesting position for the key light, for the main light that I want to be the main thing, like in those old horror movies that I love. Using some gobos to make the mood with, again, very little effort. And yeah, once everything is nice and baked and flat, you can just... This video is really not sped up. This is just me checking few frames to see if everything works as expected. But yeah, I love Karma. It's super nice, especially for hair. I find it so fast, so I don't know. There's something about it. So yeah, in the end, you finish with something like this, and again, you have another ace up your sleeve for the next family gatherings. Yeah, this time you'll show them. This was much better. So, maybe a takeaway of all this: just explore, try new things, break stuff in the process, learn something new along the way, and most importantly, have fun while doing it. So, yeah. Woo! Thank you. My mouth are completely dry, so yeah, I don't know if we have time for Q&A or it's...
No, unfortunately we don't. But Saša's going to be around, so you can catch up with him afterwards. Thanks so much, Saša. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Amazing first presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.